Welcome to the She's Just Not That Into You podcast, where we're redefining female experiences and prioritizing female perspectives. I'm Rianne.
And I'm Jiyun. We are two friends with global background, sharing our multicultural experiences and discussing everything that sparks our passion.
Every week, we have honest, intimate conversations that we hope will inspire and empower not only each other, but women everywhere.
Hey everyone, welcome back to She's Just Not That Into You. I'm your host, Jiyun.
And I'm Rianne.
Today we are talking about a topic that affects literally every single woman on this planet, which is beauty standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been wanting to cover this topic for so long, but haven't really had a chance to release an episode about it. So, yeah, why are we talking about this topic?
Yeah, so it's something that we've touched on a few times in other episodes. So for example, we did our first film club episode about this film called The Substance, which is a really powerful exploration of the harm that societal beauty standards can do to women's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And also in our second book club episode, which we did about this book called Against White Feminism. In that one, we talked about how in the book she writes about different beauty standards around the world in different cultures, and it was quite eye-opening because from that book we learnt that things like foot binding and also female genital mutilation are things that, for example, in Western culture seem totally alien, but then when you think about it, women choosing to get breast implants is actually something that stems from the same kind of toxic societal beauty standards and the pressure that women feel to meet them. And then also in our guest interview that we did with Deanne Joe, who was on The Bachelor, we also talked about how women feel pressure to meet all kinds of beauty standards when they appear on TV and reality TV. So, yeah, it's something that we've touched upon briefly in a few other episodes that we've done so far, but we wanted to kind of explore it in more depth and share our own personal stories as well.
Right. But still, I don't think our episode right now will do any justice to this whole like beauty standards that have been out there for decades. You know, there's just so many things that we want to talk about. But for today, yeah, we can talk about several most important things that we wanted to discuss. And I feel like beauty standards are that one universal thing that every single woman deals with her entire life, like no matter where you are, how old you are, or what your background is, like how powerful you are or how much money you have, like beauty standards are always there for every single woman on this earth. So I think it's probably the most important thing I wanted to discuss on this podcast as well. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we also want to talk about how beauty standards are so different across different cultures as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, that really shows how a lot of the time it's not something objective and it's so subjective and so shaped by the cultural and societal context.
Right.
Even though when you're in it, it's kind of like, you know, you're like a fish in water and you don't really get any objective perspective on it.
Yeah. But then these standards are always marketed as so objective. Like,
yeah,
it's so crazy.
Yeah, I also wanted to add a caveat about how, you know, I think we are both coming from a position of privilege in that we are both, you know, physically able-bodied people and neither of us have any body disfigurements or anything like that. But we just wanted to share our own experiences and, you know, talk about how even, you know, people who are fortunate enough to be physically able-bodied and everything, even people like that always feel like they're not doing enough, or they feel insecure that they're not meeting the right beauty standards.
Yeah. And maybe another quick disclaimer would be if any guy is listening to this episode right now, and if you're about to say that, but some men face beauty standards too, then just stop. Just stop it right here and stop listening. We know that some guys face beauty standards too, but today we are specifically talking about culturally and socially constructed beauty standards that have existed for like forever that women have to face as a group. So, if you are trying to say, but what about me? I've experienced beauty standards as well. If you want to talk about that, babe, start your own podcast. I we are talking about the beauty standards that women face today. I feel like just there is just so many beauty standards that only women face. What can you think of?
um,
First thing that comes to mind would be nails and pity
yeah, nails.
and long hair.
Oh yeah, long hair. Also, removing body hair.
Oh yeah, especially shaving your armpit.
Yeah, we can get onto this thing in more detail
Yeah,
later
yeah.
on where we talk about cultural
Right.
differences.
And makeup, obviously.
Yeah, makeup and also wearing more uncomfortable clothes, including swimwear.
Oh my god, yes.
I feel like men's swimwear is so comfortable.
I know. Like
Not that I've ever worn it, but
and even some underwear is really uncomfortable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Why do men get to wear comfortable
I
underwear?
know
Oh my god.
exactly. And even some underwear, like sometimes they even have these kinds that have like a butt pad and stuff like that, to make.
Oh my god. I've never seen that before.
I've seen so many like on Instagram or something.
Oh, but actually, I did see this one woman. I think it was like a Chinese tourist in Tokyo, and
Mm-hmm.
she did look like she was wearing some kind of padding in that
Uh-huh.
area because it did look a bit weird. Yeah,
Yeah, there is this all different kinds of padding like things to make like a female body more curvy and everything. Yeah, and a lot of skincare treatment like Botox and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just so crazy.
Also, dyeing their hair when their hair goes gray. I feel
Oh my
like
god, yeah, so true. It's just so crazy. Like a lot of male Hollywood celebrity will just show up one day with all their gray hair and nobody says anything about it. But I've never seen a female celebrity just show up on TV with visible gray hair.
yeah, definitely. And also, I've heard from some friends in Japan that there are some Japanese companies where they have really strict rules about female employees having to wear makeup.
Oh
And
my.
there's sometimes even rules about female employees not being allowed to wear glasses, even though male employees are allowed to wear glasses.
Oh my god.
And also that female employees have to have their nails painted, and sometimes even they have rules about having to wear red lipstick, and
Yeah.
sometimes even like a specific color of red lipstick as well. And I have this one friend who said that she doesn't she's not really the type of person who likes to wear a lot of makeup, and she especially prefers to like look natural. So she's Japanese and she works at one of these companies here in Japan,
Right.
and she went to work wearing like kind of like natural looking lipstick because she
Mm-hmm.
has to wear lipstick at work. That was part of the rules. And she got
Yeah.
told that it wasn't like bright red enough. So then she had to change it to
Yeah.
like a really bright red lipstick.
Oh my god, what kind of industry is she in?
I don't know actually, but it's just she works in like an office job.
Oh
Um
yeah. Wow, it's
I
crazy.
yeah, I can't remember exactly what
Yeah.
industry, but it's not like anything to do with beauty or anything. Like I think she's mostly just like doing like Excel spreadsheets and stuff. So
Oh my god.
yeah, I don't know.
It's even more crazy than Korea. And speaking of glasses and like the office rules and everything, I feel like when we look at newscasters, it's so easy to see like male newscasters with eyeglasses, but I've almost never ever seen any female newscasters wearing eyeglasses. They always wear
Yeah.
contacts. probably.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that at work when men wear glasses, it makes them look smarter and
Oh
more
my god.
capable. Then when women wear glasses, people don't like it, or like
Because it's
they,
just less beautiful.
yeah, or like people even think that they're like being disrespectful and not like trying to look well presented enough, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, why is it being disrespectful?
or lazy or something, right?
And even with politicians too, like I've noticed that a lot of male politicians wear glasses, but you almost never see female politicians wearing them. Like,
Yeah, that's so true.
seriously, if you think about some of the most well known politicians around the world and picture their faces and their style, I honestly can't think of a single female politician who wears glasses. Like, none come to mind right now.
Oh my god.
Not really. Can you?
Um, I'm just okay. I just googled Angela Merkel. I feel like she would be the most likely to wear glasses, but I can't see
Yeah,
any
I mean,
photos of her
yeah.
wearing glasses. Oh my god! Wow.
Oh, so crazy.
What about Margaret Thatcher? Yeah, wow. Even Margaret Thatcher doesn't
Yeah.
have any photos with glasses. Oh my god.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton, no. Kamala Harris, no. Maybe just some of, yeah, if I think of just some of the famous names that are mentioned a lot these days, I don't think I've ever seen them wearing eyeglasses. Wow.
Yeah, I just googled Hillary Clinton and yeah, Kamala Harris. Who was the name of that Sarah something? Sarah Palin.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, Sarah Palin wears glasses.
yeah.
But I feel like she was really unpopular and people said all kinds of things about
Mm.
her, right? I feel
Yeah.
like even among the supporters of her party, she wasn't that popular, you know?
Right, right.
And people kind of had this image of her being like a mean bitch or something.
Exactly. What else? Like, what else? I can also think of accessories like earrings,
Yeah.
necklaces, and also high heels.
Mhm.
Definitely high heels.
Yeah, I think another one is that a lot of the time women care more about whether their skin is white or tanned or just caring about their skin color in
Oh
general.
yeah, colors.
I mean, in different countries and different cultures, people have different beauty standards for,
Mm-hmm.
whether they want to have whiter skin or darker skin or tan skin or things like that. But I feel like those kinds of preoccupations about skin color and how tanned it is
Yeah,
often things that women worry about more than men do.
definitely. Speaking of skin colors, even like women care about some parts of their bodies and want them to be like a certain colors and everything, like
Hmm.
nipples and vaginas and everything. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I was actually really surprised when you told me about all
Yeah.
the beauty standards in Korea around women's vaginas. It was really interesting. Can you talk about it now?
I mean, basically, it's just that people really like it when their nipples and vaginas are like pink colors.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I feel like there's this idea that if your vagina is like brown or like a darker color, then it means that, I don't know, probably means that you are like quote unquote more used.
Oh my god, what?
It's so crazy to think about, right?
Wow.
Because like I feel like the color pink, like to a lot of Koreans, it actually like means that you're young, like you're really vibrant, you are like virgin or something like that. So I feel like naturally something that's not pink is associated with being old, being used, with having more experiences, and stuff like that.
Oh
So
wow, I didn't realize that that was why
yeah,
people have
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
preferences. Oh my god. Okay, so then so it's really crazy cuz I've never actually had any conversations with anyone about this topic in Japan. But in the pharmacy here, I have seen vagina whitening cream,
Oh my god, yeah.
which I was really surprised to see, and I thought it looked quite unhealthy both mentally and also just physically. I feel like it must not be healthy to put vagina whitening cream on your vagina. And I was also really shocked when you told me that in Korea, a lot of men judge the shapes and sizes of women's vaginas, and that a lot of women even get plastic surgery on their vaginas to make it look a different way.
I'm not sure a lot of women do that, but like I don't really have any like solid numbers. Like I can't speak for other women about that, but like if you actually Google it or if you actually look it up, there are a lot of like plastic surgeries about it, and like before and after pictures of like female vaginas. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's really crazy. But it's interesting how each different culture seems to have different beauty standards that are placed specifically on women's vaginas. So, for example, in Against White Feminism, we read a lot about female genital cutting or female genital mutilation, as it's sometimes referred to. And, how in certain cultures, people expect women to, have certain parts of their
Mm-hmm.
vagina cut off,
Yeah.
and then there are young girls who are forced to have surgeries like that when they're really young, which is like another beauty standard that's placed on
Mm-hmm.
women's body parts
Yeah.
by certain societies. And then in Western society, I'd say that the biggest kind of pressure that is placed on women in terms of how their vaginas should look is removing pubic hair,
Yeah.
which we've talked about between ourselves before. And yeah, it's really interesting because, so for example, in Japan, and you said in Korea, it's the same. Women don't really remove their pubic hair,
No.
or like it's not really expected
Yeah, it's not really expected.
for women to remove their
Right,
pubic
right.
hair. Whereas in a lot of Western countries, that is meant to be like the norm.
Mm. Yeah, why do you think
And
is that though? I think it's a quite interesting difference.
yeah, which I think is just like maybe just a cultural difference in terms of what people expect women's vaginas to look like. So, like you said, in Korea, people like pink vaginas, and they like their vagina to be a certain shape. And then in Western countries, it's about like removing pubic hair, which again is also quite unhealthy because just like with the vagina whitening cream, removing pubic hair is also not healthy because I've read various articles about it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's meant to be there for a reason
Yeah.
because it helps protect your vagina from
Yeah.
being vulnerable to you catching STDs and other infections.
Right.
And also if, for example, if you like wax your vagina and then like the hair follicles are open, those can become infected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, the vagina is a very sensitive part of the body. So it's not really healthy to, do all these things to it.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
which as women we feel pressure to do because of our society's beauty standards. But yeah, when you think about it, men never really feel the same pressure to do anything to their penis to
Not
fit
at
certain
all.
beauty standards or
Not at
whatever. I mean, like, we
all.
don't really have any beauty standards for penises anyway, right?
No, not really.
uh,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
so it's crazy. I mean, obviously, a lot of men in Western countries will like trim their pubic hair or remove some of their pubic hair or whatever. But I feel like there is less pressure for them to feel like they have to do it.
Yeah.
And in the UK, for example, I know that a lot of women, or like most women, will, wax their pubic hair or shave their pubic hair just to go to visit a gynecologist or just to get like a cervical smear test or something,
Mm.
like some kind of situation where like a doctor or a nurse will see their vagina. They feel like they need to remove their pubic hair for that, which is actually really crazy. And I feel like men don't really feel that kind of pressure where they feel like they have to remove their pubic hair to see a doctor, right?
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
so crazy.
Exactly.
So, do you want to share any personal experiences or stories where you have personally felt affected by certain beauty standards?
I think one of the biggest beauty standards that really affected me isn't actually really about one single standard or like a body ideal, but more about how I started seeing my like body and face as a bunch of separate parts instead of just one unified whole connected being. Like that
Hmm.
habit of seeing myself as just a collection of parts. I mean, I don't do that anymore, but when I was younger, I feel like I stopped looking at myself as like me as a whole person, but started picking myself apart like piece by piece. So I felt like this like way stronger in Korea than when I was living in other places. Like, for example, I got so like fixated on my face one day and I thought, oh my God, why my face is just so big today? And then they kind of thought like just goes on for like weeks or so. And like a few weeks later, I would completely forget about that. And then suddenly I start noticing something different out of nowhere. Like for example, I'll be so hyper focused on my belly. It's just this like a constant cycle of zooming in on different parts of my body and just thinking about that part for days or a week, and then moving on to another body and thinking about that part again and again. Yeah, I feel like this kind of habit itself is the one that really affected me the most. Just thinking about myself as just a collection of parts
Body
of,
parts.
yeah, body parts. And I feel like this would be really relevant for many women as well. Whenever I talk to like my female friends and other women, I get this feeling that maybe most women do have this kind of similar habit too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you think it could be partly related to the male gaze and, how Korean men talk about women? Because I remember you telling me before that Korean men often dissect women into different body parts and, judge each one separately.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like it's not just Korea. We can't really talk about beauty standards without bringing up the male gaze, you know? Because at the end of the day, it always ties back to that. But yeah, I do think that it's a lot more intense in Korea.
Well, I think for me, like, I don't think I have had any experiences of feeling like I've been kind of criticizing each of my body parts separately.
Mm.
Well, because I grew up in the UK, and I think in the UK there, I mean, I've never really like heard people being so specific when it comes to talking about beauty standards.
Yeah.
I don't think the average British man looks so closely at women beyond just being like, oh yeah, she's attractive, she's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Korean guys, they're another level. Like there
Yeah.
are different levels of beauty. Like there's A plus beautiful or B minus beautiful. Like her
Oh my
boobs are
god.
A plus or her hips are like, B minus, something like that. It's just so crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I think it really goes to show how much we're affected by the specific society that we grow up in. Because actually, so I moved to Japan 2.5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
having lived in the UK for my whole life. And actually my biggest shock, or my biggest culture shock when I moved here, was the beauty standards, because I felt like it was just totally different here to what I was used to in the UK. Because, especially in Tokyo, people dress up a lot, and women just spend so much time, energy, and money on their appearance, and everyone just looks so perfect all the time, not just women but also men as well. So when I first moved here, I was like, oh my god, like there's all these men I'm passing on the street who are better groomed than me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, I had a bit of an existential crisis where I started feeling like I was never gonna be enough and all that, which I didn't really feel in the UK, because I hadn't really been focused at all on how I look
Mm-hmm.
when I was in the UK. Then when I moved to
Yeah.
Japan, I suddenly started becoming hyper aware of it. Now that I've been here for 2.5 years, I'm not feeling so overly self-conscious about it anymore, but I think I might have also made some changes to the way I present myself that have allowed me to not feel so self-conscious about it.
Yeah, you're now part of the community.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be interesting because I haven't been back to the UK yet since I moved here. But I feel like when I go back to the UK, I wonder what it will be like when I go there. And
Right. But you know, actually, what I found was interesting when I actually went to London for the first time a few months ago. And some
yeah,
of my friends actually said to me that I dress like a Londoner.
okay.
Now that I think about it and hearing what you just said, I feel like the way Korean people dress is actually more similar to people in London dress rather than how Japanese people dress. I think Japanese fashion is way more creative. Like, instead of sticking to classics or mostly wearing black, which Koreans do a lot. Japanese people, I think, tend to wear super colorful and unique outfits. It just feels so different than Korea or like the UK. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even the Japanese men you see on the street. I remember you said you've never seen men wearing such creative fashion out like
Yeah.
yeah.
And even their hair. Like so many people dye their hair.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And each man has a different hairstyle, right?
Yeah.
And different hair color. Whereas in Korea, there's like
It's more
one
singular.
haircut or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right?
it's really singular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, is there a beauty standard that's affecting you the most in the UK? Like a
Oh, in the
skin, like a
UK.
tanned skin?
In the UK, I'd say, oh yeah, well, so people really care a lot about having tan skin. But my skin is relatively dark, and I tan quite easily, so it wasn't really something that I was always really worried about. I'd
Mm-hmm.
say the thing I was most worried about, I think, was that I'm very small.
That you're
Um,
small?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm not like super short. I'm 164 centimeters,
Mm-hmm.
which is 5'4". Oh, but I have a really small frame, and I've always
Yeah.
been skinny. Like I'd say, like the average British woman is a lot bigger than me, both in terms of height and like general proportions. So I always felt like I was too small, and I was always really self-conscious about that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would make comments about me being too skinny, and it was kind of like skinny shaming, like the opposite of fat shaming.
Yeah. What do
But
they
it's
say
really
to
hard.
you? Like, what do they say to you?
Oh, like you need to eat more, like you're
Oh
too
my god.
skinny, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But like I do actually eat a lot, and it's really hard for me to put on weight. And a lot of people in my family have the same problem as me as well. And also, like, my bones are really small as well. I'm just a small person, so
Yeah.
it's just hard for me to look bigger, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, especially in the UK, like I feel like I look quite different to like what is the norm there in terms of like body shape and size. So I was quite
Yeah.
self-conscious and insecure about that. But then since moving to Japan, actually that was the one thing that I feel better about now, because well, the reason why I'm so small is because I'm half Japanese, and Japanese people tend to be really small compared to British people. So in Japan, I feel a lot less self-conscious about being small because, well, actually, in Japan, I feel like I'm big um, because everyone else is so small.
Right.
So I've got the opposite problem now. But yeah, that was one thing that I thought about a lot when I was living in the UK. I always wanted to be taller, and I always wanted to be bigger. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, if I go into like more details about the beauty standards like in Korea first, let me think. I think like in Korea, not necessarily the one that affected me the most, but like in Korea, it's all about like natural but not really natural beauty.
Hmm.
Like Koreans are obsessed with natural beauty, like beauty that looks really natural. We have this kind of like word which is 꾸안꾸, which means like effortlessly beautiful.
Oh my god! But it requires so much effort, right?
I know, right? It takes so much effort to look effortlessly beautiful, but then everyone wants that here in Korea.
Oh my
So
god.
And also, Koreans care a lot about proportions and symmetry,
Okay.
which I think is crazy because I think these are also connected to this idea of natural beauty as well. Because when something's really natural, everything is in like a perfect proportion and in perfect symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
So people do really pay attention to things like how big your head is, how long your legs are, or how sure your torso is. So I think it's all about having the right proportions, like making your legs look longer and your head look smaller. I think that's one of the most noticeable differences when it comes to beauty standards in Korea.
Yeah, keeping up with all the beauty standards in Korea seems to be like another level.
Yeah, it's so unrealistic.
Um,
It's
because like I think,
unattainable.
yeah, because like we feel like, like I think a lot of people feel like things are bad in the West, but then like in terms of beauty standards for women, but then in Korea it seems like absolutely crazy. And why do you think that is, that it's such a big deal in Korea?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. It's just been there forever. I think it's also related to the fact that Korea is really densely populated country and is a small country geographically. So you see just people on the streets all the time and how they look. Like for example, like I mean, if you compare Korea to like let's say America, like when you go to America, except for the cities like New York, you don't really see people on the streets. Like the city like LA, it's
I've never
just
been to America, so
like for example like LA, like it's
yeah.
just so spread out because the city, like the whole like the country is just so big that everything is just so spread out. Like you don't really see people. Like everyone's in the car. But like in Korea, like everything is just a walking distance, just like New
Hmm.
York. So you just see people all the time. I think that really affects how people behave and how people actually build those like cultural beauty standards, I think.
Hmm.
And yeah, Koreans do think a lot about what other people think about them, which affects beauty standards as well. And singular beauty standards. Because, I think we talked about this before separately, but like in America, you can be like Britney Spears and who else? Like
Kim Kardashian.
yeah, Kim Kardashians or like Miley Cyrus or like Alicia Keys, like different kinds of beauties. But in Korea, you can only be one because there is really singular beauty standards. Like if you look at like the K-pop idols or Korean celebrities, they basically almost all look the same because they always have the same styles of makeup, same styles of like eyebrows and eyeliner, and same like
Plastic
hairstylings,
surgeon.
plastic surgeries, and same, just fashion styles. So yeah, I think it's really toxic. And I really don't like it when foreigners always come to Korea to get plastic surgeries and skincare treatment. It's so
Yeah.
embarrassing. Yeah. But so many
Um.
people do that, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cheap
Yeah.
and it's good here, actually. Better than other countries.
Yeah. So when you lived in America, or like when you've,
Yeah.
been to America, did you have any different
Yeah,
beauty
of course.
standard
Yeah.
worries there?
Yeah, I think in America, I think it was more about the curves, big boobs,
Okay.
like big hips, and like nice thighs and everything, like this whole like hourglass figure type of beauty.
Yeah.
And other than that, one thing that I've noticed is that I think Americans care a lot about their eyes. Like
Okay.
I remember when I was in college, my roommate was white, and many of my female friends were white. And I remember like when my roommate was really late for her class, she basically had to run to her class, but then she never forgot about her mascara. Never.
Oh, that's so funny.
And
Yeah.
so did other female friends. So I think they really do care about like wearing mascara almost all the time, even without any other makeup.
Okay, so I think that it's because, well, so I don't, you said your roommate, for example, was white. I don't know what her hair color was, but I know that a lot of people who have blonde hair or who have, lighter colored brown hair, their eyelashes are quite a light color as well, so they don't really stand out.
Yeah.
So they do look quite different when they're wearing makeup,
Yeah,
like
that's
eye
true.
makeup, you like
Yeah.
mascara, and when they're not, because wearing mascara makes their eyelashes look black and then they're more noticeable. So I'd say probably for someone who has blonde hair or, lighter brown hair, then wearing mascara is probably the thing that changes their appearance the most.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas, like, for me, I don't think it makes as big of a difference because my eyelashes are already like black anyway, so
Yeah,
it doesn't change my appearance as much.
so true.
So in Korea, what do you think is the makeup that Korean women would use the most? If they can only use one piece of makeup, which one would it
Oh
be, do
my
you think?
god, it's really hard. But I think like the basics are eyebrows and lips. Because I feel like, I don't know, eyeshadows and like eyeliners and, contours and everything, they're more like a delicate makeup, right? It's more high level.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
usually like don't do that on a daily basis. But then eyebrows and like lips, you usually just do it on a daily basis. Just
Yeah,
really
yeah.
natural ones. Yeah. So I think those are the ones that most women would do every day. What about Japan?
Yeah, so it's interesting because British people and Japanese people both wear a lot of makeup, but the difference is that I think British people wear a lot of makeup and they look like they're wearing a lot of makeup. And Japanese people wear a lot of makeup and they don't look like they're wearing a lot of makeup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, like some people do look like they're wearing a lot of makeup, but I think people try to go for a more kind of natural
Yeah.
makeup look rather than like you rarely see a Japanese woman walking around on the street with like a smoky eye, for example. Whereas in the UK, that's relatively common to see women with like heavy eye makeup.
Yeah, I think that's a difference between the West and the East, I guess. Like usually like in the West they prefer like sexy kind of makeup versus in Asian countries we prefer something like effortless makeup,
Yeah, yeah, but
right?
it's not actually effortless or natural
Of course
because
not.
have you seen those YouTube videos of Chinese women taking off their makeup?
Oh my god, no.
Oh
But I
my
can
god, I'll
totally
send you.
imagine.
Oh my god, it's great. Like some of them literally like they look like they're not wearing any makeup and then like once they finish taking off their makeup, they look unrecognizable. Like their face shape and everything is completely different and
Oh
I don't
my
even know
god.
like how they
Yeah.
did it, but it's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think in the UK, people, tend to wear more makeup that looks obviously like they're wearing a lot of makeup, right? So then since moving to Japan, actually, despite the fact that the beauty standards here are a lot higher, I've actually been wearing less and less makeup. So when I first moved here, I stopped wearing foundation, which I always used to wear when I was in the UK. But
Really?
okay, so I think the amount of makeup you feel comfortable wearing, well, just for me anyway, it really depends on how much makeup I see other people wearing around me.
Yeah.
And then that kind of dictates what I see as like normal or natural or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And then so in the UK, like it's quite common to see women who are wearing foundation and they look like they're wearing foundation.
It's so obvious that they wear foundation, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have like such a thick layer of
Yeah,
foundation.
yeah.
Yeah, that it looks like they're wearing foundation. So then in the
Right.
UK I didn't really think that wearing foundation was something unnatural, I just
Mhm.
thought it was like part of being a woman or part of wearing makeup. But
Yeah.
then since moving to Japan, a lot of the people around me, I think they're wearing foundation but they don't look like they're wearing it.
Mm.
I don't know why. Maybe they found like the perfect shade that matches their skin, or maybe they wear like a lighter like BB cream type thing. So I'm not sure, but basically since I moved to Japan, I started thinking that my face looked weird when I was wearing foundation, so I stopped wearing it.
Like just feels a little too much.
Yeah, it looked like it was too much, and it
Yeah.
started to look kind of unnatural to me.
Mhm.
So I stopped wearing foundation, but I still wear kind of like concealer under my eyes just to like hide dark circles and stuff, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't wear foundation anymore. And also I think because of the weather as well, because in Japan in the summer it's really hot and humid, and I feel like it's if you're wearing foundation when it's really humid and hot, it like really easily runs off and like starts to look really bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, so because of that I don't wear foundation anymore, and then In the past 6 months or so, I also stopped wearing any eye makeup. So I used to wear mascara and eyeliner all the time. But then I don't know. I just realized that my eyes look quite different when I'm wearing mascara and eyeliner compared to how they look naturally. And then I realized actually that the way my eyes look naturally is okay. And I felt like I don't need to wear any mascara or eyeliner. And
Mm-hmm.
I started to feel like wearing mascara looks kind of unnatural as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I stopped wearing any eye makeup, and I think it's actually good as well because I started to feel like it's quite unhealthy to wear a lot of eye makeup or just to wear any eye makeup at all, because whenever I'd get to the end of the day and then I'd have to take off my makeup, the makeup remover I would use would always like really hurt my eyes. And then even when I was in the shower trying to wash off the mascara, it would be impossible to wash it all off, and there would always be like some bits of mascara left over, and I was worried that that would get into my eyes, and it just didn't seem like something healthy for my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot better now that I've decided to stop wearing eye makeup.
Yeah. I'm glad to
So
hear that.
yeah, basically now the only makeup I wear is concealer under my eyes, and then also some kind of like colored lip balm.
Mm. Yeah, pretty much similar. Yeah, I always wear just on a daily basis. I always do like sunscreen and just eyebrows and just a lip balm.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless I'm going out or something.
But I feel like you don't really wear a lot of makeup anyway, right? I've never
No.
seen you wearing like loads of makeup.
Right, right. Because I feel like my face looks weird with a lot of makeup.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah. I'm happy with the way I look naturally, I think. Yeah, I'm just happy with just, basic makeup or something, rather than a lot of different layers of makeup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I want to talk about how we can actually break free from all these toxic, unrealistic, unattainable beauty standards. Like, what can we do about them?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is just becoming really comfortable with presenting yourself in a way that you're happy with.
Great.
And once you find that look that you want to go for, that is really authentic to who you are and the way you want to present yourself to the world,
Right,
I
right.
feel like you become less affected by beauty standards and, different trends that are happening in society, because like you don't really care about that anymore because you're happy with the way that you're authentically presenting yourself. So I would say the most important thing is to really like understand yourself and what you bring to the table and how you want to present that to everyone around you. Like for example, if you're like a creative person, then if you want to express your creativity through the way you look, then lean into that. Or if you're more like a professional business like person, then you should try to wear clothes and outfits that show that side of yourself. And I think if you really focus on that and go for a more kind of inward out approach
Mm-hmm.
to the way you look and the way you present yourself, then you're less likely to be worried about trying to like fit into societal expectations for what type of trousers are going to be fashionable that year or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't have to worry about like whether your bum is too big for the specific type of jeans that are in fashion that year,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't even want to wear the type of jeans that won't fit your bum, because your style will naturally be something that shows off the best parts of your body and doesn't make you so worried about the parts of your body that you don't like, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like for example, like I'm not a curvy person, so I should be wearing the type of outfits that look good on someone who isn't curvy, rather than trying to worry about oh well, Kim Kardashian is really fashionable at the moment, so I need to
Yeah.
start wearing what Kim Kardashian is wearing, which is obviously not going to suit my body at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, instead of that, I should like look for like actresses who have a more similar body
Yeah,
type to me.
exactly.
Like I should look at, I don't know, like what is Audrey Hepburn wearing, because
Mm-hmm.
she's not very curvy and she's quite small as well.
Yeah, so basically it's about focusing on what you have and making it better, not on what you don't have, right?
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that way we can liberate ourselves from worrying about what
Mm.
society at large
Yeah.
considers as beautiful or not, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone is always the most beautiful when they're presenting themselves authentically.
Mm-hmm. So true.
And then, so 2 more points of advice I have. One is that obviously personality is way more important for being attractive or not than the way you look. So I think anyone who is worried about beauty standards needs to stop worrying about the way they look and invest that time and energy into growing themselves as a person instead. And then the other piece of advice I would say is that if you are in a position where you feel like you're, really struggling with like pressure to fit certain beauty standards and you feel like you're not doing good enough, surround yourself with female friends who don't worry about it as much, or who are, when it comes to caring about beauty standards, at a place where you would want to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it really influences it because I remember like one big factor for why I decided to not wear as much makeup was because you told me that you don't really wear any makeup. And then like we're not even living in the same country, but then even that I just started thinking like, oh yeah, well if June feels comfortable not wearing any makeup, then maybe I should give that a go
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, right? It
Mm-hmm.
really kind of subtly influences you
Yeah.
and the way you think about it. Yeah. What about you?
Absolutely,
What do you
absolutely.
think?
Yeah, I really echo everything that you've just said right now. And probably the one advice that I would give is that we could all start like small. For example, like we can surround ourselves with like reminders that beauty standards don't really define us. Like maybe we can put up some post-its with affirmations in our rooms, or like maybe you can unfollow those influencers who make you really insecure about yourself or really make you feel anxious about how you look, and you can start following more body positive influencers who are more real about their bodies and everything. And if there's any TV shows that make you think more about your appearance and how you look and everything instead of less, you should stop watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have like toxic friends who always talk about all these different types of beauty standards, you can start spending less time with them and maybe start spending more time with similar minded people who care less about beauty standards and everything. Yeah, so be mindful of what you do on your social media. I think that really helps.
Yeah, definitely.
I also recommend anyone listening who's interested in like reading more books or watching more videos about beauty standards. I really recommend watching this video on YouTube called Beauty Sickness.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I said today actually came from what I learned from that video. That's super inspiring and super informative. That video talks about how like beauty standards became like a sickness. Yeah, after I watched that video, I started to ask myself almost every day, like, how much time did I spend today thinking about how the world sees me instead of seeing the world for myself and living actually in the moment? I think this question actually really helps me stop thinking about the beauty standards and not tied to all this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I'll have to check that out as well. What was the video called again?
Beauty sickness.
Beauty sickness. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to check it out too.
Yeah, definitely give it a watch. All right. I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our latest episode. And if you like that, please share with a friend.
We'd also really appreciate if you could rate and review our podcast. And please get in touch if you have any feedback.
We'll be back again with another episode next week.